The Diary of a Certified Psychopath, 3rd of September, 2021. Another partridge for the henhouse. According to a cyclical Red Book of Law, the term n+1 is an alphanumeric equation intended to definitively determine the number of bikes it is acceptable for any clinically certified psychopath to stash in their shed, where n denotes the existing quota and +1 is essentially an open-ended permit for the next and any subsequent long-term investments. When attributing the very same acronym, algebraic shorthand, to our mercurial meteorologists, n could equally reference wind direction and +1 an eternally recurring mile-per-hour increase on that forecast for tomorrow. Personally, on this precise morning, already having slept through 20 minutes of a 2-hour recreational allowance, set to abruptly segue into an extensive task schedule, I would have found SSW +20 far more agreeable, though that just sounds like a postcode. However, in observing the flags straining impatiently at their poles along Old Fort Road, I sensed that, in difference to our redoubtable climate sleuths, this particular beast not only had a little more east about its character, but encouragingly was one of a benign, perhaps even balmy pedigree. With aid from a sun that ignited more than the fluffy silver lining of its surrounding sentinels, I was cautiously optimistic that conditions would remain within at least n+1 degrees of operating temperature. Was handily outdragged by a mountain biker at the bottom of Coombs Lane, the latter still swathed in more than 50 shades of summer green, which helped fuel 2 legs full of sloth-twitching fibres until I reached Stenning. Still detecting a prevailing force from the east, I elected to take the A+B route, where A denotes the Stenning bypass and B equals Horsham Road, and pay another flyby visit to Partridge Green. On this occasion, I didn't seek sustenance from its Drury-affiliated filling station, but instead pedalled gravely on, lamenting the conspicuous absence of its spiritual predecessor, Stan's legendary bike shack, a family-founded business that I never had the pleasure of frequenting and which, up until its permanent closure last autumn, was seen and savoured by many a local spinner as the definitive source of cake, caffeine and conviviality. A sad loss for the charming village, which, as of April this year, also played proud host to Sussex's most expensive residents. Attempted to slipstream a pair of hulking farm vehicles on my voyage to Henfield, one armed with a plough as wide as the average studio apartment, and for an all too brief a spell experienced the effortless bliss that the habitual groupie takes for granted on their weekly imperial century. Heading south-southwest from the Hens' well-kept High Street, I then sailed through Smaldole, and a set of courteous temporary traffic lights, and thereafter it was A+A to home X home, where A stands for A Road and X equals sweet. Half an hour in hand for my Shoreham chores and hovering around par for daily outdoor distance. Let this summer's gracious curtain call continue. The 4th of September, 2021. Errands and engagements. As Saturday's planned route was suspended pending a more generous time frame and a prevailing south-southwesterly, the title will have to refer figuratively to my ramblings, which shall be even less coherent than usual by virtue of an abundance of assignments and a misplaced credit card chopping half an hour off what already amounted to meagre recreational minutage. Conditions, said the BBC's autonomous foretellers of atmospherics, are stern and stinging northerly with a scattering of sunshine to attenuate its inherent chill, but in truth I sensed neither a northern nip nor sunny smile when setting off, but rather the same boisterously balmy east in west's clothing as yesterday. A revisit to Lyons Farm Retail Park's B&Q was first and foremost on today's agenda, specifically to exchange a metal item that was too narrow to screw into a wooden item that itself had been returned for a refund a fortnight ago. I opted for the same course as I'd taken my trusty Ibis on, but this morning it was Nina's turn. It would be no exaggeration to assert that if there were any bike capable of making the most treacherously fragmented, poorly maintained, and least practically appointed cyclepaths as fun to ride as every roller coaster in your favourite childhood theme park bolted together, including that one you were never tall enough to go on but all your friends were, it is this miraculous magic carpet of mossy green. Every pothole, crater, crevice, curb and patch of loose grit from last winter's botched repairs is absorbed with greater efficiency than any mechanically powered form of automotive transport in which I have been privileged to be a passenger. The buzzless bliss this bike bestows upon its pilot seems as much an unconditional pleasure for it to provide as it is the latter's insatiable desire to experience, elevating one to an infinitely healthier state of consciousness, where fulminating over traffic, average speed, or segment times is wholly supplanted by the inspirational reassurance that, provided those pedals keep turning, nothing else matters. Except the two motorists having a give-way committee meeting around Shoreham Airport. Sneaked in the same scenic detour up Coombs Lane as my last round trip to Lyons Farm, bidding fond greetings to a gaggle of geese, and this time forcing myself to stop and snap the spectacular view of Shoreham's semi-derelict cement works that I'd failed to document before. Down Stenning Bypass, through Upper Beeding, then south to Shoreham to round off the long list of unlogged chores. A tad below par for daily distance, but enough in the savings account to compensate. For now.